So I woke up this morning feeling particularly fraudulent, like I suck at everything I do, like I don't deserve to be here, and that I've lost control over the trajectory of my life or whatever it is that I'm trying to do with it. So where do we go from here? My name is Ruben Steven. I'm a sophomore at MIT studying mechanical engineering and computer science. I also create content, run an SAT math tutoring business, host a podcast, and run an online community called the Learner Society for like-minded, ambitious individuals who care about more than just academics, but using those skills to create a life that is uniquely theirs and worth living. And if I'm being quite honest, I may have overcommitted. Classes start back up next Monday, and I feel nowhere near prepared. I have an outstanding project and an incomplete grade for a class I took in the fall. I have research to do this Thursday for a project I've been doing with MIT Center for Constructive Communication that I haven't finished. I'm currently on registration hold because of issues with the financial office, and overall, I feel like I'm spiraling. At the end of the day, I only have 24 hours, and the more opportunities that I spend my limited resources to, the less effective I'm going to be at any one of them individually. But however bad it might seem, I've definitely been here before. And so welcome to the day in the life of an MIT student creator trying to get their life back in order. And so I may or may not have spent too much time recording the intro for that video. And so now I have to go to the student center for our first tutoring session of the day. And I'm not gonna lie, chat, as a dude from South Florida, I don't think I'm ever fully going to adapt to the cold, bro. As long as I've been here, this shot still has aura. This is like the meeting room for a club that I'm in, but I've kind of turned it into my personal office because we're not having meetings just yet. Shout out to Student Events Board. Waiting for the kid to join. I may or may not be a caffeine addict if I'm being quite honest, but the grind knows. Since there's 6 entries, which 2 values would you have to average to get the median?
Oh, 4.78 and 5.61.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so our tutoring session ran a bit long, but now we switched over from Zoom to a Google Meet where we're working on our Europe research. So let the D1 yapping commence. Do you think wealthier individuals, institutions, or nations have a greater responsibility to address climate change? Do you think developing individuals and institutions or countries should be held to the same standards as wealthier individuals, institutions, or nations, even if it slows their economic growth? Why or why not? How has your background influenced your stance? How has going to MIT influenced your stance? Do you consider MIT to be a wealthier institution? Minimum 5 statements here. Okay, let's answer the easiest question first. Do I think MIT is considered a wealthier institution? Yes, hell yeah. I think that richer countries should be held to a higher standard than poorer countries because like you have more resources and you're being more gluttonous about said resources as opposed to the people who like barely have enough to like feed their citizens. What do I think has shaped my stance on this? Being broke. So it's like, where the hell do you rich people living in mansions and flying in jets get off telling me and my like broke family members and or community that we have to be the ones responsible for the mess that y'all created? And also keeping it a whole bean ski, it's a lot of these white niggas that did it too. Industrial revolution started in Britain. I got the steam engine, y'all went through, gave back shots to Africa, and then now it's like our fault that y'all and y'all steam engines cooked the planet, bro. Like, be so real. And then y'all want to be like, no, but y'all can't use the resources that we used to cook you to like get yourself back on your feet though. No, that's not good no more. Now we're morally conscious. Despite the fact that we had people in slavery for like over 400 years. But sustainability though. All right, so our Google Meet is over. I'm not gonna lie, I'm running particularly low on energy, so I'm about to go grab a coffee. And I'm not gonna lie, this is part of what contributes to that drowning feeling I was talking about earlier. The only way that I feel as though I can get through the majority of my day without just like falling asleep is with this gosh darn stimulant, bro. And it's probably having negative impacts on my health, but you know, so love you. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, my biggest op has been prioritization. There's a whole bunch of different projects that I think would be worthwhile to do, but as a result of not putting one first, none of them are really getting done. And so the idea behind this is to get everything out from inside of my head and like on my to-do list onto this whiteboard so that I can analyze them from like a bird's eye view, decide what needs to say, what needs to go. So let's get to it. So Europe research, content, neat project. There's a registration hold I need to deal with. Hackathon, the tutoring biz, school community / podcast, internship bag. That's one of the biggest areas in which I feel like I'm a bum and I don't belong to be here because if I'm being honest, bro, it's January going into February and I don't really have anything lined up and I'm kind of scared. Sleep sketch. So the question now becomes, which one of these things, if accomplished, would make everything else easier or irrelevant completely? And so the first step is going to be compressing these down into 3 to 5 actionable things, specifically the ones that are causing me the most anxiety or making me the most uncomfortable. Finish neat project, clear registration hold, drop research, apply to internships. Now that we have our 3 to 5 uncomfortable actions, we can now filter them by which of these, if done now, would make all the others easier or irrelevant. Keeping it a bean, bro, you know what the heck to do. The most important thing is Europe research, get that paper written, my boy. Registration hold, neat project, these are my most important activities. So to a degree, that content stuff is kind of like hindering me. but at the same time, I'm planting seeds. So I remember you was conflicted. This is what the inside of my head looks like. But this is exactly why you haven't been getting anything done, bro. Your time is split between too many opportunities, my God. All right, cool. Now that we've identified the one action that is the most important and that if we get it done today would make everything else easier, the next step is to break that down into more actionable chunks so it doesn't just feel like a gigantic, imposing deadline, man. But it's like, okay, what actionable things can I do? We're gonna work backwards. And product. Oh, they said you could do it in multimedia form too. Make it into content, question mark. It would synergize well. Yeah, look at that. We might have came up with a solution, but it's also going to need to be accompanied by paper. And then the idea is I'm probably going to use the paper as a script for a longer form video and then submit that as my research. That's not crazy. It's actually not crazy at all. I bet. And the next question becomes, what is it that I'm currently missing such that I can't just create a summary paper right now? I'm missing additional research on the impact of AI surveillance on the comfortability at these student assemblies about the topic of climate and sustainability and like how do those intertwine? What do I need in order to do this? Like what is my methodology for my research question, right? So it's going to be through scholarly articles and sources, interviews with delegates. I already have some in my phone. So I have a video that's been sitting in my phone that I need to edit and then put out as a piece of content. That's also going to help because it's essentially testimonials from the people who were also in the assembly. Yeah, I think that's about it. Okay, cool. You see, I feel less like I want to die because although the other things are in the background, like, oh my God, my business was going to happen to that. My registration hold was going to happen to that. I'll get to that tomorrow, I guess, or the day after. But now we have a tangible goal that we can be going after, as well as tangible action steps that we can be applying to get closer to that goal. And so let's get it. All right, so I lied on my beer phone. I got caught up in the genjutsu of checking my email. In my defense, one of them is an outreach message to a professor that I'm going to go meet on Friday. And the idea is that I'm planting seeds of my network, which is going to be like one of the highest yielding dividends I'll ever have in my life. But I'm also about to hit the meanest lock-in session with the help of you guys. Pretty much what I'm gonna do is put my phone on a time lapse so that I have no choice but to not touch it so I can actually get this research done. And then after that, I'm going to edit this video from like 6 to 8. I have a meeting at like 8 p.m. and then I can go to sleep at like 11, maybe. Wish me luck, we gonna get that time. So, deep work session complete. Put your phone on a time lapse. It's low-key an underrated method. Key outputs is that we now have our scholarly sources. We also have an outline for what our summary paper is going to be, as well as a rudimentary script for what our video might be. There are ethical and environmental implications of using AI, which I'm not fully like educated on, and there is a chance that I might be on the wrong side of history looking back on it. However, you cannot deny the utility of that, bro. Like whether you like him or don't like him, you gotta respect him because he's number one, bro. That was an extremely useful like workflow that I just implemented due primarily to the power of AI. As a quick overview of the AI workflow that I just used, went to ChatGPT, said, "Ayo, this is my research proposal. How should I work with Perplexity to make sure that it's the most effective?" Right? So then it gave me back this output, copied and pasted that into Perplexity conversation. I guess like another meta strat is ask the AI to ask you questions like help me help you type beat, whatever. So then I used these resources that I provided and shoved that into Notebook LM and it created a podcast. Let's go.
Integrated into our lives.
Exactly. It's obviously not the like highest surface area or most rigorous literature review, but I can listen to this in 20 minutes. I don't know how long this is going to take me to do. There is an argument that I should have done all of that research myself and like gone through every one of those papers detail by detail, but be so for real. I feel as though it's more important for me to be using my brain power towards those higher level activities as opposed to like slugging through the like minutia. But that might just be me being lazy. We'll see. All right, so this is looking like camera inception, but now I'm going into a discussion with my homeboy Reggie, but like slightly, it's also like a business pitch meeting. If I'm being quite honest, I have reservations mostly because my, I guess, philosophy towards business and stuff like that in general is that I would like sole proprietorship, and I don't like the idea of being intertwined with anybody because 50% of marriages end in divorce, like 50% of business partners probably the same thing, and so it's like, oof. I'd rather it be you be good, I be good, we are good independently of each other, but come together and synergize sometimes as opposed to being like intertwined. This is a joint venture. But that's probably why I suck at business. Part of that's like limiting beliefs, and it's somewhat helped by the fact that I did like this Eisenhower matrix before, helped with breaking down some of those beliefs. Like you said it yourself like 3 times when you were making it. I can't do all this together. And so I was like, all right, cool, that makes a lot of sense. It's just about like how to do that in the wisest fashion.
What is it that you feel like you're losing in terms of independence?
100% ownership. At its core, lack of trust in general. Like I can't predict the future. And at the moment, because my mind is so preoccupied other places, I'm low-key in fight or flight. So I need to know that I am fully in control of like my finances and have that shit safe. And my risk tolerance is particularly low.
It's only a matter of time before you hit all those goals, and you gotta figure out new ones.
Not crazy.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too, fam.
Catch you.
All right, so looking over at our Eisenhower matrix, post-conversation, it seems like our attention should be focused on this. Reason for that, I think that I can have a pretty like well-earning machine built if I just give it a good weekend of work, bro. But decent day, like I feel like I could have gotten more like long-term work done, but that's somewhat messed up by the fact that I am recording this as well as like having meetings in between. So I'm gonna go back to the crib, order food, edit, eat, then go to sleep. Catch y'all soon. So it's about 1 a.m. I'm not gonna lie, I'm about to fall asleep. I was doing the work, like, for me, I just spent like, I don't know, like an hour and a half editing, bro. But I started like falling asleep near the end there, you hear me? And like, I have to be at the lab at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and so I'm making the executive decision to like call it here. Actually, wait, psych, I lied. It is currently Friday, January 31st. I just submitted my research paper. This neat project got done today. Registration hold is iffy, but like I said, one thing at a time, gang. Like, catch me 2 days ago and I thought it was all over. I thought it was all lost, but hey man, we always find a way. So now we can go into next week with a clean slate before we get cooked. But that being said, subscribe for more content like this and like, share, and comment for the outro. Appreciate.